I had the unique opportunity of being able to have a sit-down conversation with Terrence, CEO of Iron Mace Studios, who is making the game Dark and Darker, which is a very gritty dungeon crawler with BR aspects and extraction mechanics akin to Tarkov, and very, very punishing full loot PvP mechanics. Set in a very rough homage to Dungeons and Dragons. If you hadn't had the opportunity to play in the September playtest, the next playtest is coming up on October 28th. And I have information about Dark and Darker that no one else has. Good morning, everybody. My name is Onepeg, and in this video, we're going to talk about all things related to Dark and Darker and what is changing and what is coming up in the next iteration of its playtest on October 28th. The playtest on October 28th begins on Friday, October 28th, and runs until some point in time early Monday morning, 2 a.m.-ish, Monday morning Eastern Standard Time. Now, for those of you unaware, Iron Mace Games is located in Korea, actually built into an old Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojo that is owned by the CEO of Iron Mace Games named Terrence. Iron Mace is made up of 22 full-time hand-to-keyboard developers, making this game as penance, if you will, for all of the gacha games that they had worked on in the past, including very, very large titles, a lot of which were for Nexon and the like. Now, during their last playtest, when Iron Mace went live, I had an opportunity to play the game and liked it so much that I ended up making a video about it immediately afterward. Like an hour and a half in, I was like, I have to make a video about this so people know about it and play the playtest. And in a playtest where they figured they were going to get approximately 300 concurrent players, they ended up at one point having over 10,000. Well, almost 10,000. And their player counts, the total number of accounts that were created over the course of that weekend, that extended weekend, because they got extended to 5 days due to downtime issues, was almost 100,000. Fantastic increase for them, and they've been incredibly excited. But I digress. The purpose of the conversation was to ask them about the studio, what had been going on in it, and we did get an opportunity to speak about what was coming up in the next series of playtests. And this one, for October, is going to be a little bit less than what we thought it would be, or what the devs, I guess, thought it would be. See, at this point, devs had figured that they would be in the tech tree phase. They would be making up all kinds of different talents that we would be able to pick and choose from, stat augmentations and the like, down the talent tree that we're so used to seeing in other RPG games. Now, of course, you guys are here for the meat and potatoes of the thing. So, what is changing? Well, first and foremost, there is the possibility that we will see a new boss. Now, that is a very big maybe, but according to Terry, they're working on modeling out and mechanically making the new boss work. Now, bosses, the big bosses, are located in the hell level. So you have to work your way through the dungeon, the base level that we're seeing now, the base level, level 2. And once we get through level 2, go down into the hell level and then try to beat them. Right now, there's only a lich boss that we've been seeing that summons 6 skeletons and takes approximately 5 to 6 hours of constant W's in order to be able to get enough gear, in our opinion, my opinion and the opinion of my teammates, in order to be able to adequately take him out. This is, of course, without losing your own life or the life of your party and being able to loot everything and still be able to get out of an exit. The other change that is coming is an overhaul of the melee mechanics. So in the case of how melee worked in the last playtest, people had the ability to hold a big swing and there wasn't a whole lot of slowdown when using larger swinging weapons. And when people got hit by those weapons, they got sticky, meaning that the run speed of those people being hit was slowed down significantly for follow-up hits that no one could really get away from. That has since been changed. So for people that are going to be hit by melee weapons, they don't get as slowed down as much, and the slowing penalty for people trying to hold back large swings is going to be increased. So that way, the idea is there's a bit more survivability for the people being hit by those large swings, and the people making the large swings aren't going to necessarily be able to just W key into people as much as they used to be able to. And I think that's a necessary change. The other thing that has been fixed is some bugs with rogues. In the case of how rogues worked, they had a poison talent where you could apply poison to your daggers, for example. In that case, if someone were to be hit by them, there was a stacking poison debuff that did ticking damage. There was a bug with the poison, though, however, where in applying that poison, it would scale its damage. The poison damage would scale based off of a magical damage modifier on rogue gear. So if they were hit by a few stacks of poison and people had high magic additional damage, it would tick for an absurd amount and people would just kind of collapse. That has since been fixed. And lastly, there has been a modification made to the way that shields work. So in the case of how shields worked in the last playtest, if you were able to hold the angle and get it, there was complete stoppage of any melee hit. It didn't matter if you were wielding a massive two-handed axe or if you had a dagger. If someone was using just a small little buckler, they could stop that damage from going through completely, and there was also no physical reaction from the person holding the shield up. In this case, that has been modified, so there is now a physical reaction. So when you hold up a shield to block an attack based on how large the weapon is that's being swung at you, you now will recoil a bit from being hit by that, and your shield won't be able to be raised as easily the next time to block the next attack. Ultimately, the idea being that follow-up attacks hitting the shield won't just be permanently deflected. You'll be able to damage those repeatedly, and then eventually the person's guard would drop and you would end up getting another hit on them. For the purpose of the next playtest, though, they did say that there wasn't going to be any change to wizards. Wizards are working the way that they're going to work for this next one. In fact, the way that they put it was they were so surprised by the overwhelming popularity change and shift in their game that it kind of modified how they had their workflow set up. Things basically got accelerated for them by about 18 months because of the popularity of everyone playing the game. And as it turns out, the marketing budget that they were planning to allocate is now being allocated to server infrastructure so that they can pay AWS enough money to be able to host all of the players that are now playing this game. They also did say that they were kind of caught up in the excitement of the game and its rise in popularity and everybody gushing about how much they loved playing it for the first couple of weeks of October. They were kind of riding that high a little bit, which kind of stifled the amount of work that they had planned on being done by the end of October. So for the purpose of this playtest, it's going to be more focused around melee changes and that focus and trying to modify the mechanics and create a little bit more balance, as well as hopefully, fingers crossed, introducing a new boss for all of us to enjoy. Oh, and as it turns out, the skeleton key, the skull key that was supposedly able to be found somewhere in the game, that key was apparently bugged and was not looted by anyone ever, even once. So we're going to see a modification to that, hopefully, and maybe we'll be able to find out where that key actually goes. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this one. Thanks so much for coming and checking it out. If you would be so kind, please consider giving me a follow on my socials at OnePegMG on Twitter, at OnePeg on TikTok. And as always, consider subbing the channel here if you would be so kind. And I will also be live just about every single day at twitch.tv/OnePeg, starting around 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.